Enjoying the show? You can help others find it and enjoy it too by giving us a 5-star rating or review. If you feel like reaching out to us with a question or comment, you can send us an email at mywifetherd@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at mywifethedietitian.com, as well as our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy the show. It's Rob and Sandra from My Wife the Dietitian, and this is Nutrition Nuggets.
Hello, Rob.
Hello, Sandra.
We're going to take a question from a listener today.
Oh, those listeners with their questions. Love it.
Yeah. So Miranda asks, I'm watching my added fat intake. What about sauces at meal times?
Excellent question. I often wonder that myself, Miranda.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I've always said that's the most challenging part of the meal, I find. It's easy to chop up a bunch of stuff and put it in the pan, but making it taste good, sometimes. I mean, food tastes good by itself sometimes, but when you're making a meal, you kind of want to like make it a little bit fancy by adding some flavor and sauces and spices, and it can be challenging for like most of us aren't like gourmet chefs in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Some of us think we are, myself included, but it's difficult to find something, A, that's healthy, B, that you can kind of just whip together, and C, I guess that's it's available in your cupboard when you need it.
Yeah, and just ideas.
Yeah. So, like I've learned now that the first thing I should look for in the cupboard is what can I make a sauce out of? And then I figure out what I'm going to make. Because I've been stuck so many times having cut up a bunch of vegetables, put a bunch of stuff in a pan, go to find a sauce, and I'm like, oh, there's no sauce. And now I have to figure out how to like create something with what I have on hand. And I've figured it out and it's worked. And it's been interesting sometimes. But yeah, anyway, we're going to share some ideas and help Miranda out and hopefully give you guys some ideas on how to make your own sauces sometimes too and how to keep them healthy.
Well, I think that's actually a really key idea that you just mentioned about make your own.
Yeah.
Because then you control the ingredients. You're not going to put xanthan gum in your homemade sauce.
No.
Right? Remember we did an episode on emulsifiers?
Yeah.
All about emulsifiers. We also did one on salad dressings and sauces, Nutrition Nuggets 42. Mm-hmm. So I definitely recommend listeners and Miranda to listen to that one and the emulsifiers one, because that is what's in a lot of different sauces that you buy that are already made and salad dressings that are already made. So, they're easy and convenient, but remember what I always say about convenience.
A convenience kills.
Well, you end up paying in other ways, right?
You do.
If you're always using those and you're not making your own homemade, which can be way healthier, then your health can suffer and your family's health can suffer. Because if the kids are always watching you use ranch dressing or...
Oh, like the jars of pre-made sauce, the butter chicken sauce or the Alfredo pasta sauce, just like cook up a bunch of noodles, open a jar and put it on and boom, there's dinner.
And sometimes that's fine to have that in the cupboard, in your supply for those nights that it's really busy and you just have no time. But it is also really good to try and create your own sauces with, some key ingredients that we'll talk about.
Exactly. Yeah, it's often the sauce that's the most unhealthy part of the meal, whether it's a salad dressing or the sauce that you're dumping over your creation that you've made in the pan with all your veggies and all your healthy stuff, and then you put like a super salty or super fatty sauce on it that's like something you bought at the store, and it completely destroys the healthy part of the meal.
Yeah, well, it can totally...
It still tastes really good. Like it probably tastes fantastic, but read the label of those the next time you're at the store. You'll be blown away at how much salt and fat is in those pre-made sauces.
And other ingredients like preservatives, emulsifiers. It is interesting to know that a lot of the polyunsaturated fats that we get in our diet and omega-6 are coming from those pre-made commercial sauces and salad dressings. And I think a lot of people use them because, you know, the message is have more vegetables, like try to include more vegetables. So what do? Is we get the vegetables out and then we dip them in the ranch or, you know, in the different sauces. And as I mentioned before, it's okay once in a while, but it's really good to try to have a few on hand, that a few ideas for homemade ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And having spices, like a no salt or a low sodium spice mix, like a Mrs. Dash or Clubhouse, or your own mix, or even, you know, like smoked paprika is one that we use a lot, or Italian seasonings. So having those, and herbs are great too, right? Having fresh herbs or dried herbs. Yeah,
because you're adding flavor. And that's kind of what a sauce is doing. Sometimes it makes it creamy, which is nice. But it definitely adds flavor, and a lot of that flavor comes from salt. So if you can substitute the salt flavoring with other spices and fresh herbs, then yeah, that's a healthier alternative for sure.
It's amazing when I work with clients and they switch out their typical mayonnaise or their ranch dressing with their own homemade concoctions made with olive oil or avocado or light mayo. It actually really works. Like over time, you get used to those tastes. You get used to making your own, and you can make your food taste great. The dishes taste good without all those extras.
Yeah, for sure. And yogurt too, like Greek yogurt, or just not Greek necessarily, but plain yogurt with some spices in it. You know, it's kind of like a tzatziki.
Oh, yeah. It's delicious.
But you can do a bunch of different things with plain yogurt if you want to just create a substitute for a dip that's healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you think of, like, for instance, one that we love, blue cheese dressing or a ranch, as I mentioned, has about 8 grams of fat per tablespoon. And a lot of people don't use just 1 tablespoon. They might, you know, kind of drench their salad. So that's like 2 tablespoons of dressing or more. And that's, you know, 16 grams of fat.
Yeah.
And that's about the same order as buying an order of fries, like greasy, glistening fries.
I know. And you think you're being healthy with your salad, but then you drown it in fat. It kind of cancels out it doesn't really cancel it out, but I mean, you're not being as healthy as you think. Well,
you're just getting a lot of extras that is actually affecting your cholesterol levels and affecting your waistline and affecting all of those, you know, the cardiovascular risk. So if we want to reduce that, or you've been diagnosed with high cholesterol, or if your blood pressure is high, which we mentioned in many episodes before, because we've talked about sodium, because it is something that's very common in the North American population, is elevated blood pressure or hypertension. And if you look on the label of a lot of these sauces and dressings, that is where we're finding the sodium, the hidden sodium.
Yeah.
And we did an episode last week that you went to the grocery store and
I was just going to say I did my little low sodium grocery hunt, and I was blown away at how much sodium is in these sauces that we use all the time, and salsa too. That I did not see coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of why I'm kind of on board with this episode today, because it's you know, I need some ideas too, and I've got some that I can share, but yeah, sauces can be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, over time, if you're using them all the time, that could definitely accumulate and it creeps up on you, right?
So let's throw a few ideas out.
Yeah, so it's really good. I mean, if you have tolerance for spice, like a hot sauce, typically a lot of the hot sauces are pretty good.
I love hot sauce. And the thing about hot sauce, a lot of them are different flavors. Like hot sauce isn't hot sauce. You know, you can have one that's kind of smoky flavor. You can have one that's You know, a lot of them are vinegar based. So a lot of them will be kind of like spicy vinegar. You can sort of taste that vinegar. Other ones are more like a tomato base. So that's a bit more like spicy ketchup. Yeah, there's a ton. So if you try one and you don't like it, try something different. They're different flavors and they're great for, you know, just using that as a sauce on meats or, you know, often if I make just some pasta, I'll just throw some hot sauce on it and that'll be it for my flavor. And I suppose you could use olive oil too.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there is a lot of flavor in hot sauce.
And a good rule of thumb when you mentioned olive oil, so 2 teaspoons of olive oil at a meal, or it could be avocado oil. It's a good rule of thumb if people have high cholesterol and they're on statin medications. This is something that we tell them is 2 teaspoons of added fat per meal. So you might not have any at breakfast. So you can, you know, it's like a budget over the day. So 6 over the 3 meals that you're having.
Right.
So 2 teaspoons per meal. And that could be, as I mentioned, olive oil or avocado oil are good.
Yeah, they're tasty. Olive oil is delicious. I've started using that on salads and even just as a dressing on certain hot foods too. It's just got such a nice flavor that's kind of all you need for some things.
Yeah. Or if you like the creamy, then we already mentioned the yogurt. That's a really good base to make tzatziki or other creamy sauces. Mm-hmm. If it's something quick and easy, instead of the full fat mayo, 2 teaspoons of the light mayo or Miracle Whip is a better fat profile.
Yeah. Mayo tastes good and it's hard to get that flavor from anything else, but you don't need tons of it necessarily.
Something that we learned using those HelloFresh for a few months.
Oh, right.
Most of the meals came with the lemon. And now I always buy a bag of lemon.
Or the lime. Lemon or lime.
Yeah, I always buy the bag of lemon just to have lemons and cut them up, spritz them, and, you know, right before you serve the meal, depending on what it is. But a lot of meals really get this fresh flavor. Mm-hmm. With lemon or lime.
Yeah, I agree. Another one that's really nice is pesto. And you can make your own pesto. I don't know how healthy the store-bought pesto is, but it's fairly straightforward ingredients in it. And you can probably make your own at home with oil and basil and garlic. And
probably. Haven't you made it?
I don't know that
Yes,
I've made...
You have.
I've made pesto?
Yeah.
I don't recall, but...
I have.
I think you have.
Yeah, I didn't use pine nuts. I used walnuts instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's when you have lots of basil.
I do remember that. Yeah. Didn't you make 2 different versions?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that now. And one was better than the other, but I can't remember which was which.
Oh, I know. One had cashew
right.
instead of pine nuts because I didn't have pine nuts. And the other one had walnuts instead of pine nuts. Mm-hmm. And I think the cashew was better. It was creamier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that most of the fat from a pesto comes from the olive oil.
We had a ton of basil.
Yes.
We got a ton of basil in our little CSA box in the summer. That's why. And you're like, what are we going to do with all this? So we made pesto.
It's great. I love basil. Great. I didn't want to, it's just...
I know.
You know, you want to... I love using basil on everything, but we had so much of it. Yeah, I guess we could have... you can freeze it. You could also make the sauces... like pesto, for instance, and then put it into an ice cube tray and freeze them. And then you can pop them out and just use them in any of your meals that you want that pesto flavor.
I bet we've got an ice cube tray in the freezer with some in it right now. Yeah. It's buried in the back.
Yep.
Be like, what's this green stuff?
I know. Labels are good in the freezer with what it is and dates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, so we talked about hot sauce, using the amount of olive oil or avocado oil. Salsa is a good one too. And
salsa's a great one.
Yeah, you mentioned it before in terms of the sodium. So just watching the commercially prepared salsa.
They're not all that bad. Mm-hmm. We have 3 different jars right now in our cupboard, and one has 20% sodium. One has like 14 and one has 8.
When you said that, you mean daily value. So 20% DV would be a red flag because we want something under 15% DV, daily value. So you said there was a 20%, and what are the other numbers?
I think they were like 14 and 8.
Okay,
so one was really high, and the other one was medium, and the other one was low. So that would be the Goldilocks one that you want to eat.
That's right. So the low is 5% DV. So that would be green light, and then kind of caution is 5 to 15. And then over 15 is red.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, anyways, it's a good rule of thumb when you're looking at amount of sodium in any food. And we didn't mention last week when you were talking about sodium in your grocery tour. And it's because you don't usually buy Mr. Noodles and those ramen noodle kind of instant soups, but their sodium is way up there. Like,
oh yeah, off the chart. Like
almost 30%, even 38, 40% of your DV. So it's like way red light.
Yeah, like crazy salt.
Yeah.
Sodium.
Yeah.
Salt.
And it's the flavor packet that is where you're getting that sodium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, that's a bit of a tangent. Back to, another one.
Well, I was going to mention with salsa, the trick with salsa is if you make, say, a tomato-based, say you're making pasta and you got your jar of tomato sauce and you throw it in and it's just kind of bland because some tomato sauces aren't flavored. They're just tomato sauce. If you throw a couple scoops of salsa in that meal
Tangy.
will just be boom.
Kick.
It's just like, wow, it's so good now. Like
Totally.
you don't need a lot of salsa. We're not saying to use the whole jar of salsa for your sauce. It just sort of accentuates, or diced tomatoes too. That's another one I've done. That's when I was saying at the beginning, I make my big meal and then I go to grab the sauce out of the cupboard and it's not there because I think we have pasta sauce, but we don't. So I'll just throw in a can of diced tomatoes because it's tomato, right? But it doesn't have the same zing that a pasta, like a spaghetti sauce would have. So then I'll throw some salsa in and it's so good. It's not all like covered in red sauce the way a spaghetti sauce would be, but you really taste the flavors of the ingredients a lot more, and it's tasty, and that's what you want. So
yeah, absolutely. And where does that zing come from?
Well, the salsa, but what about the salsa? Do you mean?
Yeah, where is the zing coming from? Because you can replicate that. It's spices.
Yeah, well, I guess it's the spices and like the chilies and I don't know. Like, do you know the answer to that? This is a trick question.
I'm just saying, whatever you're tasting that you love, you can replicate it in your kitchen. So if it's a priority, let's do it. Oh,
like you mean on a Sunday afternoon, you can make a whole bunch. I'm thinking like I'm cooking dinner. I need something like on the fly.
I mean, we're talking about it, so it is obviously important to you. You could look into it and
for sure,
make salsa or make that zing that you're getting from the salsa and figure out what it is.
Figure out what that zing is from. A little homework for me.
Yeah.
Where's the zing?
It's probably smoked paprika and some chili peppers and who knows?
Who knows?
Lots of different. There's lime.
We'll find out.
Yeah. So mustard. This is a nutrition nuggets, and I think we've answered most of her question, but there's a couple more that I want to just go over.
For sure.
That are staples that are really good to have. Mustard is awesome. Just any kind of mustard. Low sodium tomato sauce. So we've been talking about tomato, but broth. I haven't mentioned it, but it is such a foundational sauce to many dishes.
It really is.
Chicken broth or beef broth or mushroom broth, vegetarian broth, whatever you use. It helps moisten and marinate food, and it's really foundational.
Is broth salty? Like, is it a high sodium thing that you should probably look out for when you're buying?
Again, if you can make it homemade.
Well, yeah, sure.
then, we've talked about this before too with bone broth.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I'm glad you said that because it's kind of like in with those Mr. Noodles. If you look at the broth, there's the regular, just like chicken broth in the Tetra Pak.
Right.
And probably, I think 30 to 40% DV. And then there's
for sodium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the low salt, which is about 15%. And then there's the no salt, which is about 2%.
Right.
I don't know for sure. I should check into that. But I do the grocery tours, and that's what I remember is the low salt is actually on that around 15%. So it's not like no salt. But then there is a no salt that's definitely in the green light.
Yeah,
category.
If you're just using it for a base and you're going to add spices to it and, turn it into a sauce, you don't really need the salts.
That's right. And
for flavor.
A lot of people I work with that are looking to lose weight gradually, sustainably, salt does affect your fluid retention. So having foods that have some salt in them, like the hidden sodium foods that you were talking about last time, all of those things can add up, and it does affect your weight because the scale doesn't know, is it fluid? Is it, what weight is it? It's, for your body composition, but that's the thing too. So going less salt, less sodium, it's better for blood pressure for most people. And it's good for if you're trying to help with feeling better.
Yeah, exactly. A couple other ones we've used too in the past, and these are ones you kind of have to read the label when you buy, but the cream of mushroom soup is a quick and easy sauce for a lot of dishes. If you have a rice dish, a pasta dish, you're cooking up a bunch of veggies or something, and you just want to throw it all together with a sauce on it. Cream of mushroom, cream of celery, one of those ones, but make sure you buy the low sodium because once again, those are a culprit for having really high sodium levels.
And they can be added to you can add some plain yogurt to those also, or you can add broth. Yeah. So you can, have it for a little bit of that flavor, that cream of mushroom flavor, and then maybe add your own mushrooms, or same with the celery, add your own celery. True.
Yeah, exactly. And another one is coconut milk, but we were saying that's a bit high in the fat, right? In saturated fat, but I don't know if there's a lower fat version of it.
A light, yes, there is.
A light, yeah. Okay. So maybe look for that one because coconut milk's great for if you're making like a curry. Can of coconut milk, some curry spices, cumin, a bunch of that.
Peanut butter.
Oh, peanut butter.
That's make it peanut sauce.
That's the secret sauce we use a lot.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So good.
A little bit of soy sauce, some Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire. That's the other one that was on my list.
Yeah.
Worcestershire.
Some spicy sauce and peanut butter, and boom, you've got it's unreal.
So good. So good. And then, of course, any tahini. You can make tahini sauce. So that's the sesame seed paste tahini.
Right.
That goes into hummus. But you can make sauce with the tahini by garlic and lemon and cilantro, like a green tahini sauce. Or you could do a tahini that has chili and garlic and apple cider vinegar and spices. So there's different tahini sauces, and you probably see them more now with the poke bowls and the grain bowls and those, the bowl dishes. It's like the dressing for that, or the peanut sauce is that too. Yeah.
We've used plain yogurt a lot as well for sort of creamy type sauces. Instead of the coconut milk, you could use a plain yogurt, add the same kind of spices. You'll get a similar effect, but it'll be a lot less saturated fat.
Yeah, the same with a light Alfredo sauce with the Greek plain yogurt and skim milk to lighten it up, and Parmesan for the kind of the saltier flavor. And it's the yogurt gives it the creaminess.
Yeah. So there's some ideas for you. Hopefully that will inspire you to get back in the kitchen and cook up some fun creations that are a little on the healthier side.
Yeah, I hope that helped answer your question, Miranda, and keep them coming.
Yeah. Thanks for reaching out. If you guys want to reach out with your questions, feel free. You can contact us through email. It's mywifetherd@gmail.com. You can also check out our website for lots more information. We've got a great blog on there with all sorts of articles. We've got a weekly newsletter that you can join. It's free. There's a link for that on most pages on the website. So check out the website, join up. You get all sorts of recipe ideas, tips of the week, all sorts of great stuff. So it's definitely worth it. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Give us a like there. Comment there too if you'd like. We'd love it if you could rate and review the show. That's super helpful to us. It helps other people find it, keeps things moving forward here. And also share with your friends. That's another thing that helps us and helps your friend. So that is it for this week. We will be back next week with a full episode. So in the meantime, have a fantastic week, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife, the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.